In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the spectrophotometer using microcuvettes. A lot of it is the same as using the larger cuvettes, but there are some changes, such as the use of an adapter, so that the microcuvettes will fit into the spectrophotometer. Our spectrophotometer has two modes, absorbance and transmittance, and we can toggle between the modes by pressing this button. And whichever light is illuminated, if it's T, that means transmittance. If it's A, that means absorbance. For most applications, we want to be in absorbance. The first thing we need to do is make sure we're set to the right wavelength, which is 600 nanometers for this procedure. We can do that by turning this dial. And then we want to prepare our blank. The microcuvettes have a smaller width compared to the larger cuvettes. So they are designed to hold, this particular one's designed to hold 1.5 mLs. There are even smaller microcuvettes that can do 0.5 mLs and have sufficient volume to have the light not pass over the top. So our sample today, we don't have 3 mLs, so we will need to use the microcuvettes. So in order to use these, to do our blank, we're going to fill it with water. With these, a general rule of thumb is if you've reached that wedge where it expands out, you're high enough. Wipe the outside with a Chem wipe. And then these adapters, this is the handle up here, and this down here is where you will insert the microcuvette. And you want to face it so that this window is lined up with the notch that's down here at the bottom. And these can be a little tricky. The microcuvette likes to kind of pop out when you're putting it in. So just keep a thumb up here near the top when you're sliding it in, up until you can't really do that anymore, to help keep the microcuvette firmly seated in the adapter. And then we'll blank the instrument using the 0A or 100% transmittance button. And you can see on this spectrophotometer, there is no leading zero. We always want to record the leading zero, but we also do have a reagent blank for this series, so we're not going to record this at the moment. And then you want to kind of keep it angled at a slant when you're pulling it out so it doesn't try to topple out of the front. And the holders for the microcuvettes can double as racks as well. So I'm going to keep the water there in case I need to re-blank later and get a clean cuvette. And then I will pour my specimen into the microcuvette, wipe it with the Chem wipe, make sure that the clear window lines up with the notch, use my thumb to hold it in place as I insert it. And when you insert it, that notch is going to be facing towards the dial. It won't insert in any other way. Firmly push it in until it doesn't push anymore, and then close the door. And for the reagent blanks, you can record this number and then manually subtract it from every single subsequent sample, or you can press the 0 absorbance button again, and this number will be subtracted from every subsequent sample for you by the instrument. So you want to kind of angle it, tilt it out at an angle so it doesn't pop out of the holder. And then pour the contents of this cuvette back into the original tube. And don't discard of that solution because you might need it later. You will clean your cuvette with distilled water, decant it into the decant bucket. It's a good idea to do this 2 to 3 times. tap out any excess liquid, and then measure the next one. Make sure you always remember to wipe the outside with the Kim wipe and hold it near the top. Insert it clear side to the notch. Hold it with your thumb before inserting it. And make sure it's firmly seated in there. And record the value, including the leading 0 and all decimal places. And you would continue this process of measuring your samples with rinsing the cuvette between each sample until all your samples are measured. When you're done measuring your last sample, you will store the cuvette adapter inside of the spectrophotometer so it doesn't get lost. Pour out your liquid, clean the cuvette with distilled water. Tap out any excess liquid and store it back in the box. You'll also get rid of the distilled water that you had in your blank tube. Tap out that extra liquid and close your box and put it back in your drawer.